You're listening to the Renegade Blitz, the best podcast for Steelers fans by Steelers fans. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at RBlitzPod, and at Blitz Videos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And welcome back to the Renegade Blitz. I'm Ty Polk with Chris Ward and Brandon Walker, back with you to talk about just an entire avalanche of news coming around the quarterback position. Of course, with the Steelers needing a quarterback, we got to talk about it. What better emergency podcast post Ben Roethlisberger's retirement to talk about? But of course, the big story is this, because all Steeler Nation is talking about Deshaun Watson, at least in terms of criminal cases, has been cleared. He still could potentially have some penalties in the civil court process, and that'll be a daunting process as well, similar to what Ben Roethlisberger had to deal with. So, guys, the first question is this. I want to get your initial thoughts on this, and honestly, in terms of the criminal cases, I feel like it's just a case of too much money. I mean, maybe there's something that could have been done more in the criminal cases, but I'll rest my peace on that because sadly, that process has been done.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, money. Watson's a high-profile athlete and stuff, and he has top lawyers, and like you said, like what is done is done. That's the legal process. That as far as the criminal charges, we'll have to see what happens with the 22 active civil lawsuits. And everything I've been reading, that they say that Watson's going to still be facing a suspension. And, Ty, you mentioned before we came on, you could see it as much as 8 games possibly. So I think there's a lot of gray areas still, even though he was cleared from the criminal charges. As far as the Steelers are concerned, I would be shocked if they did trade for him. I mean, 2010, when Ben Roethlisberger had 2 sexual assault cases against him, 2 allegations, the Steelers were looking to trade him. I kind of see the situation pretty similar, and Rodgers was actually on the team already when that happened. He won 2 Super Bowls already. Watson's outside the organization. I can't see them making a move like this. And then the reports have been all over the place too. Like, you used to see people saying that they are interested, and then other people like Jason Walker saying that they're not in play for Watson.
Well, as a part of the court cases and civil cases, I don't see the Steelers getting them either. I honestly think that they just want these women want their coin. They want their money. So I really don't think this is as bad as, and this may be an unpopular opinion, that it's as bad as people were putting it out to be. Because if they really had something, they could have got something on him. I know, Chris, you said they had lawyers, but I wouldn't be put. I honestly say, I fast forwarded it about a year ago. I was like, look, this is the Houston Texans thing to not trade him, make him to come back to them, and make his loyalty to him, because he did demand a trade, and then conveniently all this stuff came out. But 22 is a lot.
That I was just about to say.
It's a lot.
And I'm sure some of the women that they probably were looking for money, and there was mentions that someone was consent, like they consent to have sex or whatever, and or whatever what Watson was doing. I mean, if you go, Ty read the story, the Sports Illustrated one. We posted it on Twitter today, but one of the massage therapists, spoke, not her real name or whatever, but she spoke with a reporter who's with the New York Times now, and she vetted everything, and she said she talked with people from her family and everything, and saying, is this true, or and she saw text messages. So the court system, they said what they had to say, but it's definitely it's shady to me. I find it I'm very skeptical about it though. But I think you're right that 22 cases is a lot. Were all those true? Maybe some were, some weren't. We really don't know. Only the legal system they figure that stuff out, which is it's not always a right system either.
But he is a sleaze bucket in some way, shape, or form.
Oh,
I mean, at least he's a freak. He's a freak. He's into some.
But he thanked his Lord and Jesus, Lord and Savior though after he got off though.
Yeah.
Don't they all?
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't they all?
I told you after this, you got to trade it. You got to trade it for something after something like that. With addicts, it's typically religion, and then when you go through stuff like this, I mean, we've already seen this song and dance before. I mean, what more could I say? Yeah. I just don't want to. I just don't want to deal with it after having to deal with it, having your name dragged through the mud, being a Steelers fan just for the association of having Ben Roethlisberger on your team, which I mean, what more can I say? It's just out of my posterity as a fan, and really my sanity, at least as a Steelers fan. I don't want that. I just don't want this. I mean, you went through and seen all this stuff. Like there's a lot of things I would rather have on this team. I would take Mason Rudolph 50 times over Deshaun Watson. I'm sorry. I know Deshaun Watson, when you get him on that field, is talented. It's the same thing as Ben Roethlisberger. And if it were to happen, I would begrudgingly accept it. But man, I would hate this a lot more than I hated it with Ben Roethlisberger. And I hated that a lot. Just can't do it. Now, let's move on to the other things in there that really created this domino effect down to Watson forward. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is staying a Packer. It's going to be a cap-friendly deal. He's not trying to break the bank again for this team in some sort of weird petty revenge for drafting a quarterback while he was still capable of doing things and won back-to-back MVPs. Russell Wilson got traded to the team that he beat in a Super Bowl in Denver. And Carson Wentz has become the fifth straight quarterback gone from the Colts in his acquisition to the Commanders. And Brandon, I know you have a ton to talk about with that. So let's get started with it. What move surprised you the most? And I'm going to say, obviously, because you heard so much of a hullabaloo out of Seattle saying, we're not trading Russell Wilson. We're not trading Russell Wilson. Pete Carroll chewing 50 million pieces of gum and saying he's not trading Russell Wilson, and they traded Russell Wilson.
I'm not surprised at all. Because if you heard I'm surprised that he actually went to Denver. Only because I don't know how Sierra would feel about like living in Denver. I thought he would have been traded to the Giants. Would have thought,
short plane ride to Los Angeles.
Yeah, or Vegas.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, it's kind of short. Denver's more towards the. Yeah, it's Rocky Mountains, but it's not. It's
I'll put it to you like this: if it was the Utah Broncos, I probably wouldn't go there. But it's Denver, Utah, so I could deal with Denver.
I heard Denver be hopping low key.
But it's nice. Yeah. Aspen,
Denver, Aspen. But I think I'm not surprised he got traded out. Yeah, but that's a good situation for Russell Wilson. With you got Jerry Jeudy, Cameron Sutton.
No,
I know they
Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton.
Our Sutton is here. Our Sutton is Cam Sutton. Cortland Sutton. They got that guy from Penn State, KJ Hamlin. You got some receivers there. You got that running back, Jonathan Williams, there. I know you had to trade. No offense, but if he was that good, you wouldn't trade him anyway. That's how I feel about trades. You can always find another tight end.
Yeah.
In the draft, second, third round. He's has to, and then they're gonna go for it. I expect. I could say Von Miller coming back to Denver. If he doesn't stay in Los Angeles, they're going to be going for free agents here. That's a destination again. Because you know they're not going to half-ass it. You ain't going to get a quarterback, spend 2 first-round picks on him late in his career, and you're going to sit on your ass. That ain't going to happen.
Yeah. One thing I will say about this for Denver, I mean, yeah, with losing Fant is not the most ideal thing in the world. But, again, this is it's a solid tight end class. There's no real crown jewel, like maybe Penn State Pat for you, Brandon, or Kyle Pitts. But it's a solid all-around tight end class for a group, and they kept all their wide receivers. That's the important thing. They didn't give up any of those guys. Hamler could probably be something. You know what we think about Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, and also there's another wide receiver that they have there that I can't remember off the top. Yeah, they still have Patrick. So they got 4 wideouts. They could find a tight end out there that could do something in the draft, and that offensive line, it wasn't good whenever we seen them last year, but from what I've seen, they developed pretty well over the course of the season. So at least Wilson won't have that much of a worry in terms of the offensive line. So regardless, Denver's not exactly the best at drafting quarterbacks. Really, they've had trouble since John Elway retired as a quarterback. Yeah. They had to go through Brian Greasy, Jake the Snake Plummer, Jay Cutler, Kyle Orton to name a few. Of course, Brock Osweiler, when they could have originally gotten Russell Wilson. So I guess they made good on that. So regardless, I think it all around works pretty well for the Broncos, and that's just a tough scene up there in Seattle.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how many quarterbacks they went through after Manning. But another big time. Manning's in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Russell Wilson probably be a future Hall of Famer. Obviously,
he's an MVP vote.
Easy Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Easy Hall of Famer.
I mean, the AFC West is loaded now with quarterbacks. AFC overall, really, I mean, the Steelers are so far behind right now. It's like either they might go with Jacoby Brissett, according to Jerry Kulak, saying that they're interested in him. I guess four coaches on the Steelers staff have connections with Brissett. I guess Matt Canada was his offensive coordinator when he was at North Carolina State. Frisman Jackson, the receivers coach, and Eddie Faulkner Jr. was the running back coach also at North Carolina State. And then, obviously Flores in Miami last year with Brissett. But if they do that's like not that much of an upgrade than Rudolph. You
might as well just Rudolph. You gonna do that?
Yeah, but it should be interesting though with Wilson in Denver though.
Oh yeah, you got Patrick Mahomes, Herbert. Your worst quarterback in the division right now is Derek Carr. I was call him David. I'm sorry,
but even then he's a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, he's still a pretty good quarterback. Better than what somebody picked up.
I'm sorry. And by the way, there were some people out there I noticed on the NFL radio circuit because I listened to Sirius XM. They tried to say that Russell Wilson is the worst quarterback in the AFC West. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. He is third. Firmly third.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that. I like Derek Carr. He's obviously proved me a lot wrong from what I felt because maybe most of my feelings was just hinged upon his brother, who, when you really look back at it, was in an extremely tough situation with an expansion franchise. And plus, the Texans really didn't know how to run themselves until maybe around whenever they picked up J.J. Watt. If you want to be mean, to be nice would say Mario Williams, but even then, that wasn't good.
Yeah, I would say Watt.
Yeah. Watt. Yeah, it was Watt because they didn't make the playoffs any year until J.J. Watt stepped in that organization.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they had that. They went through Matt Schaub. Even though he wasn't.
Schaub was fine, but he wasn't going to get you to the dance.
Yeah.
He wasn't, but.
Speaking of the Texans, I don't know if you guys follow Aaron Wilson on Twitter. He's a pretty big time. I think it's a Pro Football Network now, but he used to cover the Texans. And he's saying that the Steelers are not interested in Watson. He said he tweeted 12 minutes ago, Pittsburgh Steelers are not expected to be a player in the Watson trade market, including multiple leagues. I have to say, I believe Aaron Wilson. He's pretty well connected with everyone. I don't think there's any whatever the report that was out there. I think he heard something. But what was the quarterback's name again?
Sean King. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the late 90s, early 2000s. He was usurped by Brad Johnson, who went on to win the Super Bowl with the Bucs. But he was a fairly solid backup, I guess. But he didn't exactly get the chance that he probably needed to show himself more.
Sean King, he does like a show in Vegas now, and I think he trains quarterbacks or something like that too. But I think he honestly, I don't think he made it up. Maybe he was fed bad information, but he kind of made it seem a little too absolute, I think. But whatever interest if there was any, I know Jerry Dulac, he slammed it down real quick, saying that like they're not interested. You put all caps with the not interested part, I just don't. I don't think. I just can't see the Steelers making a move like that. I mean, they don't have the draft capital, and like we mentioned, like he's going to be suspended anyway. I mean, I just don't think they could explore other options. Probably the Steelers' way is just to go through the draft. It might not be this year, but maybe next year.
I think
it should be next year.
What I think is going to happen. Sorry, my cheek. What's probably going to happen is they're probably going to might get somebody in the second round. Maybe a Carson Strong. Yeah. Maybe second, maybe third round. See if he develops under Rudolph. And then in the 2023 draft, they might get their guy.
Yeah.
Because that could be the play.
Yeah. You
can always draft. If you're a second or third round pick, you ain't guaranteed a starting job, NFL. You know what I mean? They did that with Jimmy Clausen. They did that with
I think it's setting up to be like
even with Josh Rosen, they did it.
Like a bridge.
It ain't nothing to draft a quarterback in the first round 2 straight years. The Cardinals did it a few years ago. So if I was the Steelers, I would your first round pick, get the best player available. If you get a quarterback along the way during the draft, second, third round, they develop, great, awesome. They set the world on fire. If not, and they go 6 and 11, that's when you can find your quarterback. Or I don't know about this Malik Willis. That's the person that's getting all the hype. I have not, maybe because it's Liberty and not many of their games are on TV. I don't see I didn't see too much to say, oh my God, he's the guy, except he can run and he has a rocket arm.
I like hype and potential. That's where I'd probably go with Malik Willis over maybe the sure things of Kenny Pickett and maybe whatever Desmond Ridder is trying to make himself into in the combine and pro day. But I look around at all
draft at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Kenny Pickett is being considered a sure thing in terms of what this draft has, but any other year, if he goes last year, he's a late round pick or he's undrafted.
Yeah, he's like, but then again, a couple years ago, another guy was considered a late round pick, and he became the number one. And then he was in the Super Bowl last month. Not saying he's that. Small hands. I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow at all. I'm just saying that people can develop later. He has the same kind of story as Burrow. I'm not saying he is. Putting that out there. But you can't just judge it by all that. You can't just say if he was any other draft. Because people would have said if Joe Burrow was in the other drafts, he wouldn't have been number one overall. So you can't judge it like that. Where do you think he's going to go? Where do you think Deshaun Watson is going to end up? If you don't think it's going to, we all agree it's probably not going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where do you think he's going to end up?
I've been flipping back and forth on Carolina because they have a quarterback in waiting with Darnold who they can later flip. I was thinking of quarterbacks that could eventually be flipped, and it goes to Carolina and Seattle because they have all these picks now. Carolina, I'd probably put in the front runner's seat because of this. They have a desperate head coach and an owner that wants to make a splash who was formerly part of the Steelers in David Tepper. They want to make a splash move, and after their first splash with Darnold, kind of ended up being more than a little puddle than, dropping yourself into the lake. They want to try to put everything back in motion because there's a lot riding on with the Panthers. They want to put a dome over Bank of America Stadium. They want to do so much now. They're trying to get a new stadium. There's a lot of things that are riding in addition to the head coach situation where Deshaun Watson, yes, it's not the most beautiful thing in the world with all of his baggage right now, and there is a ton of it. But I could see them trying to make a move.
I think the Panthers. I mentioned Aaron Wilson earlier, but he said that you heard from a source that they're going all in. I know they wanted him last year. They said the owner of the Panthers he hired someone to do a private investigator to look into
Tepper did.
To look into the thing or look into the case. So I think the Panthers are really interested, but he has like a no trade clause, and I don't think he didn't want to go to the Panthers last year. I don't know if anything changes now, but I think maybe the Seahawks, because they have some draft capital now. Maybe they give up a lot for Watson. I think it definitely, there'll be a team out there. I don't think it's going to be the Steelers.
I agree. I think those are the two front runners right there. I don't think he's going to get traded to the AFC. I don't think he's going to get traded to the AFC. Like I said, he is a desperate coach. Matt Rule.
Yeah, he
needs to save his ass. Yeah. And by the way, he makes more money. He makes more money than Sean McVay, and that's probably why Sean McVay is, flirting with Amazon and doing TV and stuff like that. Give that man his coin, but that's probably the reason because I don't know how much he makes, but he makes more than him, and he's 10-23, and if he doesn't get his act together, he's going to go right back to college. Probably on Nick Saban's staff. But another thing, Seattle, like in NFC West, you got Garoppolo / Lance. We'll see what happens there. You have, obviously, Kyler Murray, Stafford, tough division. You got to have a quarterback, or else you're going to be buried in that division.
And a team's going to have the cap space because he's,
they cut Bobby Wagner.
No, I'm just saying a team.
They have the cap space.
Yeah, but I was just saying whoever the team's going to be, they're going to have a good amount of cap space because he has a high, cap hit every year on his contract.
What I say about cap space and draft picks, that don't mean squat. They can, if you have a smart football mind, smart psychologist, as we can attest to with Omar Khan, you can finagle numbers around, push it back a little bit. I know it might not be healthy if you continue to do it, but if you do it right, you'll be okay.
Yeah. There's ways to maneuver.
There's a lot of ways to do it.
But team, they can't be like the Saints are like a lot of years where they're in the minus or something like that. Then it's like impossible to get it done. Really.
Yeah, just kicking money right down the levee. I don't know how they do it, but of course Carson Wentz is the big one. I mean, when you look at Carson Wentz's ride over the last 2 years, he was traded to Indianapolis for what was a conditional second-round pick that turned into a first because, of course, Wentz started every game for the Colts, and then it was also a third-round selection to the Eagles last offseason. By the way, the Steelers could potentially get one of those first-round picks from the Eagles, and it might be that one in the draft selection. And now he got traded to the Commanders, and it's for 2 third-rounders, but the 2022 third-round pick and next year's third-rounder that could become a second-rounder based on incentives. Now, when you take a look at that and look at the Steelers quarterback situation, at first I was highly against Wentz because, I don't know, it's one thing if one organization to draft you gave up, but when the offensive coordinator that you had your most successful season as a pro decides to give up on you after a year, that kind of has a red flag right there, especially for an organization that prides itself on leadership and the Steeler way. Now when you take a look at it, but what they gave up, I'm pretty sure the Steelers, if they wanted to, probably could have went into the cupboard a little bit more. They might have had to add another, a guaranteed third rounder alongside that, which of course with the load they have this year, that could be arranged. So what is your thoughts on this in terms of do you think the Steelers made a move for Wentz, or do you think they just decided no thanks on that one as well?
I would be surprised. I don't think Wentz is like that. He wasn't really all that impressed with the Colts in that loss to the Jaguars in the last week of the regular season. I don't think that's that well with the Colts. There's always been issues with him. Like, suppose he's not an easy person to work with and everything.
Which is strange because he looks like the most easy guy.
He's a good guy too. Christian, North Dakota boy. I don't know. You know what? I thought he would do better in Indianapolis because it's a smaller market. Philly's tough.
Yeah.
You know that, Chris. That's your hometown.
No, I'm an hour north, but
okay, whatever.
You're off near it.
Yeah.
You're off near it.
I get the.
But you know how tough Philadelphia can be as a sports town.
Yeah.
They will eat you alive, chew you up, and spit you out. If they don't feel that you're part of the, even if you are, but that chews you out and spits you out.
Yeah, and was it? Go ahead.
Where I'm going at is this: with Wentz, I don't care what anybody thinks. I lived there. I breathed it. No city in the NFL, even Pittsburgh, no city chews up and spits out quarterbacks with their fan bases more than Washington. They're the worst by far. And I don't think he's built for it. He is not. If you can't make it in Philly, you can't even make it in little old Indianapolis. How the hell you gonna figure you gonna make it there?
I think he's like the stopgap type of quarterback.
I think he is too.
Like I wouldn't be like. You think they'll go with Pickett at number 11 if he's still there? I don't
he's
think
gonna be there.
I think hold on.
Yeah, you're right. Now the Broncos.
He's not.
Unless the Panthers, but I don't know. I don't know if he'll
unless the Seahawks take their pick with it, but he's gonna be there. Some quarterback is gonna be there in which they like up in Washington.
Something like that.
I don't think they like. I don't think they like any of the quarterbacks. I don't think they do, or else they wouldn't have traded for. I think this is like a 2022, unless they might they might get somebody in the second round like they did with Philly with Hurts. They may be finding somebody. I could see them trading back and getting like somebody like a Desmond Ridder, developing him, seeing if he's ready. When he's ready, then he steps in 2023. Or I can see them going for 2023 if this goes left. Not to talk about this team. And by the way, he would have been a great fit in Washington, but there is no way in high hell that you can have Deshaun Watson on your roster right now for all the bull crap that they're going through right now.
I think the smartest move that franchise ever made was just going, we're going to take Wentz. I will say that. That's the smartest move this franchise has made in the last 20 years.
Yeah, if it was 2002, he's there. He's there. He there.
Yeah, but I read that they went they wanted Wilson a lot, but Wilson wanted to stay on like the West, East Rocky Mountain time zone now, but he didn't want to move back out east, I guess. You guys see that also?
I didn't know that, but
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think Denver just sneaks into the Pacific time coast anyway.
No, they're mountain.
They're just
mountain.
inside? Okay.
But
Yeah, they're mountain. No, they're like well into the mountain time zone. They play because that's like it's like almost close to it's borders on Nebraska. It's almost more Midwest than Pacific. Denver is.
That's why I when I said West, because it's like in the middle, kind of between it. But yeah, I think I saw that Washington they really wanted Wilson, but I guess he didn't want to go there because he wanted to stay out there.
Yeah, it's more of a lower key market. I guess that's what he wanted. But see, if it was up to Sierra, he'd be in Miami or New York or LA. But there's no room in LA for a quarterback. So
no, yeah, and the Giants and Jets are a disaster. So I think the Broncos make sense for them. They got their core and stuff, and I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
All right, so we talked about it, but of course now the big thing, we got to get back into Steelers before we end this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Maulers, just a little bit. The one thing now, I guess the shoe has dropped for the other quarterbacks with it. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is staying in Green Bay. Not that I really believe that he was going to leave, especially after how well the season went for him and how they kind of at least had his back through most of the BS that the media had spun at him this year. So who's the quarterback that you could see being a veteran pickup? I've been screaming for Mariota since literally before that. Going back into last off season, I wanted Mariota, and now it seems like at the very least it's between him and Trubisky. So my pick is Marcus Mariota, but I am totally fine with Mitch Trubisky if it happens. Guys, who would you want out of the veteran free agent signings? And it doesn't have to be those two. It could be someone else. It could be a Fitzpatrick.
How about neither?
Neither.
Wow. I'd rather have Rudolph than both of them.
Really?
Yes. Like, what's the difference between Rudolph and Trubisky and Mariota?
I think I'll say this.
Elaborate and how, especially Trubisky. I got picked for two potential Hall of Famers. One for two potential Hall of Famers. Please tell me.
Trubisky has at the very least what
between him, Trubisky, and Rudolph, and Mariota and Rudolph. Mariota has had 7 years to prove himself, and he ain't done squat.
This is just a bridge quarterback. This is all bridge quarterback situations. Or of course, you could also have Gardner Minshew. But when I look at it like this, Trubisky, I'd like to see what happened under a year of Josh Allen and seeing how he plays, having maybe a time out of whatever's going on in Chicago whenever he was there, because that man led him to 2 playoff appearances or something like that. Mariota, in terms of what the Steelers offense wants to be, which is a modern, maybe at the very least, I want a quarterback that can at least spell Najee Harris for a little bit. Like, at the very least, if he can keep that, at least have them thinking, okay, he might keep it. And he did and he was before Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl and this year Cincinnati. He was a part of the last team to beat the Kansas City Chiefs before they went on that run.
Okay. If you want to spell Martin
even
Harris,
if it was very flukish, it wasn't with the Derrick Henry that we know now. Still, he has a playoff win and shows up.
Hold on. He didn't beat Patrick Mahomes. He beat Alex Smith.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing. But for some reason, I'm just like, I've always liked Mariota, and I like to see if he, in an actual organization that has a plan, even if he's not going to be the guy for a long term, but they have a plan out there and they're at least willing to do something about it, I'd like to see what he could do.
Okay, if you guys wanted to get somebody that could help Najee Harris, why don't you get a second running back like a Rashad Penny?
They're going to get that running back. They always do that in free agency.
I know,
but
that's the guy that you should get. I'm saying Rashad Penny. I know he was a first round disappointment in Seattle, had his injuries, but as a number 2 running back, he could be pretty damn good.
Can I ask you a question, Brandon?
Yes,
aside from Tennessee and Cleveland,
yes.
What team do you know that has, and also Tampa Bay because they had Tom Brady, but for the most part, what teams do you know that didn't have it was just primarily the running backs, no true offense from their quarterbacks, and even with an argument, you could put Tannehill in there.
Did you say did you say Tampa
like
Bay?
Running quarter? Like when you come to running quarterbacks, because at least Tannehill has some running ability. Without a true running quarterback, because they always need that threat. That's the difference in today's NFL. You need that running threat from a quarterback. Trubisky provides a little bit of that, and in some nice ways, because Chicago at one point could only move with him running offensively, but also Mariota can do that. And he can also give you some good throws, which is really what the Steelers need at this point.
Yeah, I'm with Brand. I'm not really high on any of them, really, but I understand it's like a stopgap type of situation. The quarterbacks that
go ahead first.
Teddy Bridgewater, I don't think that's much of an upgrade if you go with Rudolph. There's a couple guys out there that I'm not really. I probably like. I agree with Ty. I like Trubisky. I think he would. He wasn't all that great in Chicago, but he was okay, and he didn't have the greatest coach there with Nagy. I think a lot of people were saying that he didn't develop him, and people were really impressed with him being as a backup in Buffalo. They said a lot of good things about him. So I'll go Trubisky, and then probably after him, probably like Winston maybe. But like I'm not really too high on him, but he is experienced. Garoppolo, his trade market is going down. They're saying like 3rd or 4th round pick, but he has a pretty high cap that he's due this year, but salary that's due this year. But I don't know if they'll trade for Garoppolo, but I'm looking forward to next year's draft already for the young quarterback. It probably won't be this year. Willis, like even some teams think he's gonna, or some mock drafts have him going as high as number 2 to the Lions.
I saw that one. I saw that one. I was like, "Are you?"
And Pickett,
really?
I would just be surprised if he fell. He's not going to get back to 20. I don't think.
I think he could.
You think so? If he gets past Washington, there might be.
They're not. The Washington
Saints are number.
Commanders. I had to stop myself from. That's going to take at least 2 years to like.
We barely got the football team through.
I know. F that. They're the Redskins. There will always be the Washington Redskins to me and many Washingtonians. It's like, I'm joking. Joking.
Don't get us arrested.
I know. I think that, yeah, like I think that if I was smart, if they wanted to find a quarterback that they liked, picking at 11, they wouldn't have traded for Wentz. Unless they do find that person that they want to develop, like a Malik Willis. I can see that happening. But other than that, no. But as far as the Steelers, you're better off just picking the best player available. Don't get into all this. Let's get this guy. I like Pickett. He's a Yancher. We got to get him. He's like that. We missed out on Dan Marino about 40 years ago. You see what happened? We would have had like 19 Super Bowls. No. Pick the best player available. Get that offensive line. If Littenbaum Chris's buddy, if he's there, which he could be, draft.
Yeah, they definitely need to rebuild in trenches, especially offensive line. But they do have needs. To it, they still don't know if he'll be back. Some reports saying that, Cameron Hayward mentioned his name when he was talking about next year's defense. So that people are thinking that he might come back. Still unclear though. That there's been mixed reports, but definitely they just got dominated on both sides of the ball this past year. They ranked last in the league in rush defense, and I think they were 29th in rushing offense. So they definitely need to improve in that area, in those areas.
Middle linebacker could be improved upon.
Bobby Wagner is available.
Bobby Wagner's name's been mentioned out there. What do you think about that? He's 32 years old. Some people are talking about age, but I don't know. If he's the right price,
he's still one of the best middle linebackers in the game.
Yeah, he can't be much worse than what they're putting out there.
For us,
he can coach up.
You see, I don't know because it might be a scheme fit thing. Could be he's a Hall of Fame. He's gonna be wearing a gold jacket too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's
agree.
gonna, but it depends on what type. I think he wants to have that better scheme at this point of his career. That similar to that, and that I hear him talking about going to the Bears.
I saw
about going to the Cowboys.
Yeah, because Dan Quinn is former defense.
Yeah,
that's a 4-3 defense, right? That's their scheme.
Yeah.
So maybe Wagner. I heard they're struggling with cap space, but they don't have much.
Who?
Cowboys.
Yeah, they're trying to get rid of one of their offensive tackles with that. When I got a scheme fit with Bobby Wagner, look, the Steelers run a ton of 4-3 concepts still. And when you look at it, basically on third down, TJ Watt's basically a defensive end whenever they go into their sub packages.
Right.
So as far as I'm concerned, with Watt, he's usually rushing anyway, so it turns into a 4-3 by nature.
4-2 for a 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2,
4-2,
4-2, and yeah, in some situations. So regardless, I don't think scheme fit goes with it. I think it's more or less where does Bobby want to go, and if the Steelers want to put some money in there.
The Commanders look good. That's a good fit.
Largely, he can go wherever he wants.
What I would like to see him at is, hold on. He would look real good in Baltimore or Cincinnati. Not to stir the pot, but
when I think of Baltimore, I always think of a terrorizing middle linebacker, and he gets right into that.
Yeah.
Another name that's Carlton Davis, the cornerback for the Buccaneers. I think Andrew Filippone. Yeah, Andrew Filippone said that the Steelers are interested in him. Did you guys read up on that at all, or that was the other player?
God! Yeah,
Carlton Lewis.
Davis
from the Bucks.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this right now. Pair him up with Akello because I really like Akello, and the Steelers have two long cornerbacks in a league where I think in the future cornerback height is really going to mean much, especially when you're outside. I would really like that.
You know what? I agree. Because I forgot. I didn't know how long. I thought he was one of the. I knew he was a little bit bigger, but yeah, these corners, those are going to be vogue now. Yeah, you're right. They're going to vogue.
He's only 25, second round pick from 2018. He has 6 interceptions and 52 passes defended in 4 seasons. He's going to command a lot of money. They're saying like $17 million is his market value is
per year.
Yeah, per year. The Steelers they have around $30 million in cap space. So.
No.
Oh God, never mind.
No.
Yeah, they're saying that he's supposed
to.
What
the Steelers need to do is
drop your safeties.
They can use a lineman, get a guard. They need a right. I think they need a right guard. Get that. $10 million. Get a couple defensive linemen, 3-4, for depth purposes. Because I think they got wore out last year. Hayward got wore out. Worley got wore out at times. Late in games, they got gashed in the running. They couldn't finish games. Get a couple depth pieces on the defensive front. Need a little middle linebacker. Somebody will push your boy. They need probably another corner. You can release Schobert. You can I say release to it for real. I don't know what his dead cap hit is, but you can have a lot more money than you got to. They need to be aggressive. Pick the right players. You don't need to get that big name player. Solid players that you know what you're going to get, what you know their production is going to be, and Watt will take care of itself. Hayward will take care of itself. Fitzpatrick will take care of itself on the defense. Get a lineman. Draft a Littenbaum. Get a backup running back. I think if you built the right team around, say if it's going to be Mason Rudolph, you could still win you still could win 10 games with him. Because he doesn't make too many mistakes. If you lean on the running game with, I'd say, Penny and Najee Harris, pound that running game. I think he could be Freiermuth will benefit will having Mason Rudolph as his quarterback next year. And if he can find a way to get the ball to DeAndre Johnson deep in Claypool and they get their head out their asses.
My biggest concern is
I'm sorry to be long-winded about it.
My biggest concern with you talked about not making mistakes and stuff. As you mentioned before, he's a one-read quarterback.
Yeah.
And his quarterback mobility, he's okay, but his pocket movement hasn't been the best so far. So, I think confidence too is a big thing with him because he looked like a deer in headlights when he was the starter in 2019, and then he ended up losing the job to Devlin Duck Hodges. But I think confidence, his mobility, his footwork in the pocket, and his progressions as a quarterback. I think those three areas are something to really look for.
Yeah, he needs to work. He needs to work on that. But I don't want to millywop back to the point. If I had to pick the two of them between Mariota and Rudolph, Trubisky, because I gave a smart ass answer, but I would have to say Trubisky.
Trubisky is probably being the better talent, but you want to see. But you do. I will say this: if it comes down to Rudolph, I look at it like this: he did not have the opportunity to be a well-prepared first-string quarterback in his league. I'm not going to say a starter right now, but at this moment. But when you think about it, he never had a training camp in which he was the de facto going into it number one. So I do want to see what he could do with first-team reps. And of course, he didn't get any help from Ben Roethlisberger, especially with the Lions game was probably the most egregious. You could argue that. Aside from his comments whenever Rudolph was drafted.
Yeah. So, I don't think he really had that true chance saying, yeah, look, I have a chance to be the starter this year. You're right, Ty.
Yeah. It's kind of
I just want to push him at the very least. That's why I wanted to bring those guys in. I didn't necessarily want to say put him in a competition, but have a viable veteran out there because I don't know with Dwayne Haskins and people talk less about him. So, even the organization.
I'll tell you what. No, he ain't it.
Yeah,
he ain't it at all.
That last preseason game really really showed it. I think because he was having some good throws or whatever. There's a lot of good reports of him coming out training camp saying like he has a good delivery or whatever. But like that was a brutal. I remember
he can't hit the ball.
Yeah,
He can't. I've seen it in action. Remember, I told you, Chris.
That was
right afterwards.
And 15th
I told you when I went over there.
15th overall. Like, man, what was Washington thinking when they did that? Wasn't he like only a 1-year starter too at Ohio
Yeah,
State?
he actually beat out Joe Burrow.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Then again, that shows you college doesn't translate to the pros at all.
The offense does. The offense after a while did, but there's still a talent issue when it comes to it.
Yeah, and just get back to the cornerback thing real quick. You mentioned Witherspoon being matched up with Carlton Davis, but Davis supposedly he'll commit. Like same thing with J.C. Jackson, that he's supposed to get paid a ton in free agency also. But just reading the tea leaves, it seems like Hayden's probably on his way out. He tweeted earlier this week about how like it's 7 days to the legal tampering period. Like for him to tweet that, and then he made a comment on Bobby Wagner's tweet that he got released. That I don't know if it was Bobby Wagner or just the news that he got released. That something about like they don't care. I forgot what he said, but it was something along the lines that the organization that they don't care once you're like past your prime or something like that.
He didn't see Bobby Wagner didn't seem past his prime to me.
Oh, okay. Here it is. It was the NFL release when they said that Seahawks releasing Bobby Wagner. He said it can only have if it can happen to a 7-time All-Pro, still playing like a 7-time All-Pro. It can happen to anybody. It's a business. We are chess pieces, not mad. Just got to hit you to reality. They love you till they don't. So when he tweeted that, it kind of like, and plus him tweeting about the legal tampering period, it kind of made me think that the Steelers probably don't want to bring him back. He probably wants too much than what they're willing to give. It's important to remember that his agent is Drew Rosenhaus, so he wanted an extension during the season, I think, but the Steelers declined it also.
I think it's just tough to do. Again, that's just the thing with everyone when it comes to corners and anyone in the league. They always have these thinly veiled comments. We'll see what his actions are whenever it comes to the tampering period and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know if he's coming back. But the question is with the Steelers is what are they going to do out there in free agency? Because remember how we thought they were going to have a ton of cap space? They have like $30 million. Which is still a lot.
You could cut people.
Yeah, true. They're gonna be cutting something's gonna get cut off of his team. The question is what? Schobert, do you think is there a possibility that they might do a surprise cut somewhere?
Give me a second. Let me think about it.
I really can't think of any.
The thing is, they don't have a surprise cut candidate.
I'd say the only one is Tuitt.
That's
Tuitt maybe.
Candidate.
Tuitt, Alualu. Like I think they could. I think it would be on the defensive line. They'd be crazy, but it's like as weird as it sounds. But if they're really in love with Tuitt and Alualu, I could see Wormley. I don't know why, but I think it would be dumb.
That cap hit.
He doesn't have it.
It's only like a couple million.
Really?
Yeah, it ain't much.
Yeah, it was a 2-year, $4 million. Never mind about that. But I look on that defensive line.
Alualu isn't even all that much. He's only about $6-7 million.
I guess it's Tuitt then.
Tuitt,
Schobert. I think Spillane doesn't make anything. They just might let him walk.
A banner, but
they already signed Miles Kilbrew to a 2-year, $4 million contract.
That's really,
nothing.
What's the Zach Banner? Was that $5 million?
That's the one. Thank you.
Yeah, Banner. I think Banner's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. That would be surprising. Yeah, he hasn't been able to play. He hasn't been able to stay healthy.
I think that Banner and Tuitt are the ones that had that. I was thinking Banner, crazy about Wormley for some reason.
And that will free up about 15, 16 million.
Probably around 15, I think. Yeah.
I mean, Claypool's on the trade block, and they're viewing
That's
that as a potential piece. Yeah, but
he could net. What do you think he can net, though? I think he can net maybe a third round pick at this point.
There's been people trying to tie him into the potential for Watson, which I think he fits the bill as a sort of player that you would put out in this situation, because the Steelers are probably going to be drafting a wide receiver anyway.
Yes. Jahan Dotson. But that's the name to put out. But
when is Dotson going anyway?
Jahan Dotson?
Yeah.
Late first, possibly early second.
I know that's your boy, but I don't know about that.
He checked him out.
If he gets into the mid 20s, by all means, go for it. But I think
he'll be there at 20 in the 20s. He'll be there.
Well, second round.
I don't know if he was. I don't know. Yeah, he's second round. Yeah, I'm like, that's like, I don't know if it's a good thing for the Steelers to draft him in the first round.
I mean, they've been looking at Sky Moore, who played up at Shadyside Academy, and was alongside Tomlin's kid. So there's can they pick up that wide receiver? I don't think unless they want to cause an absolute mutiny, it can't be in the first round unless all offensive line prospects that were viable for the Steelers are gone.
Yeah, I wouldn't draft like Dotson over Littenbaum or
I'd draft him over the quarterback.
The other offensive tackles, no. But yeah, you just got to get the best player available. I have to look up the old draft board to see who's the 20th best player, but like, what is the 20th best player? We don't know. The 20th best player right now could be the 150th best player on Mel Driver's draft board. We don't know until they play the games. I know we sound cliche, but Mel Kiper's draft board is Mel Kiper's draft board. And I'm going to leave it at that. Todd McShay's draft board is Todd McShay's draft board. We don't care about that. They don't know. We don't know. It's up to what the players do and their abilities.
Usually 3 years.
Why am I sounding so emotional about this and downplaying it? The point is, there is only like 5 to 10 maybe generational talents in a particular draft. Rest are going to be solid players. No. You're going to be 20 to 30 solid players that go to Pro Bowls. Rest are going to be maybe some French starters, and the rest is going to be some like filler players that's lucky to hang on in the league.
Well, let's end it with at least a much more happier. Has anyone paid attention to the stuff going on in the USFL? I was going to start covering when games actually happen, but of course yesterday they had their supplemental draft, and the Maulers did not get Paris Ford. New Jersey got her. So I was just like, oh man, come on. But I'm excited about the USFL. I think it could be used as another opportunity. The season ends in July, which was like, wow, really? But I guess it plays right into training camp. I think the only thing I would be worried about for getting players off of that, especially with training camp being so close, because I think in July, I think the championship is like July 20 something. And I think the earliest report date will probably be late July. So probably July 31st or something.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be watching it because I'm a degenerate, and I will also be talking about it on our podcast about how well the Maulers play. You guys have free free entrance into that. I'll even change up the Twitter account. I'll even change up everything with it. It'll be purple and orange. It'll look nice. But you guys been paying attention to any of it?
They make us do that at PSN. They drafted I know they drafted some former linebacker from Penn State. Let me get his name. The New Orleans Breakers.
Yeah. It's a nice thing, but I wonder how much of the win's going to be taken out of the sales of that because now the MLB's back.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. His name is Sharif Miller. The MLB is back. Yes.
I think that kind of like it'll put a small dent into a lot of the things that they want to do, because I think a lot of like what really would have made them pop off is the lockout continuing. But regardless, we'll see how that works out for the USFL. Guys, we're still trying to find someone to talk about with the NFL Combine and stuff, and as pro days are coming up, it's coming up to that time in which we see who is going to be the next Pittsburgh Steelers, and we'll be there the entire way with it. Guys, it was fun to talk about it on this emergency podcast, as always. Good to see you guys.
Right. You should come back next week after free agency. The bonkers it starts.
Oh, yes. How could we forget about that? After the legal tampering period. Chris, you remember about the fun from that last year.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of news. Busy week this week. A lot of stuff's going on. It should continue, next week even more probably, with all the moves going. More.
We're heading on episode 100.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, right.
I believe this is 96 or something like that. So we're ever so closely inching to it. We might actually get it around the NFL draft, so that'll be fun for us. But regardless, guys,
it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy for us.
Because we'll be doing so much Penn State. This guy got drafted here. This guy got drafted there. We got Chris gonna be drafted talking about WVU players.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. Trying to think who's supposed to go in the draft the highest for the WPIAL player. Is there any WPIAL guys that go in the draft this year?
Moore's the only guy that I can think of off the top of my head right now.
Same with me. I was forgot, but I didn't know if there was a first round. I don't think there is.
Nah, I would have heard about it by now. But Moore's the big guy.
Deshaun Watson he's from near where I'm from, Allentown. So he's originally from Newark, New Jersey, but he went to high school near there in eastern Pennsylvania. So
did he go to a Catholic school?
He went to he went to a public school in Pennsylvania, but he did go to like a private school in New Jersey. I think he was there his junior year. He transferred back to New Jersey, and then he came back senior year. So those are the two guys from Pennsylvania that I could think of on top of my head: Sky Moore and Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
We'll find out where they go with that. But guys, great job as always. That's Chris Ward. That's Brandon Walker. I'm Ty Polk. You've been listening to the Renegade Blitz. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to the Renegade Blitz podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Renegade Blitz, at @RBlitzPod, and @BlitzVideos. Read articles on RenegadeBlitz.com. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast app. The Renegade Blitz podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts.